Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to my channel if you're new and if you're not. Come va? My name is filcofilms and today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the most British habits that I have basically picked up since living in this country. As a lot of you may know, I've been living in the UK since 2013. That's a long time. That is a very long time. And if there's one thing that I've learned about living in the UK is that British people are nothing like any other people in the world. We're all very individual in our nationalities, but British people take it to a whole different level. But before I jump into that, I wanted to flash my merch because I'm so proud of this. Check it out. I'm wearing this sweater today. It's really hot outside, but I'm making a sacrifice because I'm just like, look at that. Look at that design. It's just so, it's so classy. It's so nice. It's very comfortable actually. You'll find the merch links down below the description and you can just click straight onto it, check it out, order it if you want. It ships worldwide, but I don't want to delay this video any further. Let's talk about some of the most British habits that I have picked up while I've been living here. Now you might relate the word sorry to Canadians a lot, but it's not just the Canadians that are overly apologetic. In fact, I think it is a pretty close race between the Canadians and the Brits. Now I wouldn't say that I was ever unapologetic. I feel like I do recognize when and if I do something wrong, and I'm the first one to come up to you and say I'm sorry about it. But living in the UK, you need to up your game, man. Like some real life stuff that happens here is apologizing for calling someone instead of replying to an email because of the inconvenience that comes with getting them to actually speak to you instead of having them just simply type an email out. Or even apologizing for nearly walking into someone. Not even walking into them, but nearly walking into them. You'd still say sorry. And yeah, this does happen. This has happened to me before. Now this isn't the problem. It's not a problem at all. In fact, it is very polite, very civilized. The problem comes when people don't do it. So now, getting used to this, if somebody nearly walks into me and they don't apologize, I feel like they're being rude. I feel like I have a problem with them. And that is my own issue. That is my own personal issue. But you get so used to everyone being so polite and so nice and so overly apologetic that as soon as someone doesn't do it and is normal in that sense of the word, it becomes weird and problematic. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is this way. And as soon as you leave this country and go somewhere where people are at a normal level of apologetic, everyone suddenly seems so rude to you. Now just a side point here actually, because it came to mind when talking about the moving and walking into people. The UK drives on the left, right? And this is fine. Easy to get used to if you don't walk into a car the first week of you actually being here. The issue comes when you subliminally pick up the habit of doing this when you're walking as well. So like when you're walking towards someone and you both go to get out of each other's way, you both will naturally go to the left of each other, which is a nice like swaying this way, right? Which is all fine and dandy. You're out of each other's way. Maybe you apologize because you didn't move quickly enough, but it's fine. You don't bump into each other. There's an understanding. It appears though that in mainland Europe, it's the opposite. You tend to go to the right. So the whole that thing happens. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like you both go the same way and it gets really awkward and you keep getting closer to each other and then you just kind of have to stop in your tracks and be like, which way are we gonna go here? So Brits, take note if you travel abroad, you will find that you probably subliminally move to the left. In Europe and in countries where you drive on the right, it seems to be the other way around. And on the subject of driving, British people actually follow the rules when they drive. Thank you so much for this. And obviously, as I learned to drive in this country, I do the same thing. I follow the rules when I drive, which is not something that can be said of a lot of other places. Now, I commute by car in and out of work, and that is in and out of London. So I do my fair bit of driving. It's like an hour each way every day. It's a lot. Never got a ticket in the whole 2 years of driving that I've been driving so far, so I think I can fairly say I'm a decent driver. That said, when I do decide to get behind the wheel in other countries, I lose my shit. London has its fair share of bad drivers, don't get me wrong, but Jesus Christ, driving in other countries is a nightmare sometimes. Literally, I could go on with this list, but people in other countries, they don't keep their lanes at all. So you'll see people just driving in the middle of lanes. It's not that dramatic, but you don't see that in the UK. People tend to keep their lanes quite a bit. And abroad, that doesn't happen quite as much. And also blinkers at roundabouts. What is up with not using blinkers at roundabouts? It is so helpful to other drivers that come to the roundabout. They see you've got your blinker on and you're turning left. you can go. That's good. You don't have to wait for him to come by. But there are some countries where you don't use your blinker at a roundabout, which becomes very problematic. Although in Britain, you do have an undertaking problem. This happens a lot here. And people don't keep to the left as much as they should, so I guess that explains the undertaking, but like, people need to stick to the left a bit more here, because if you're not overtaking, you should be on the left lane, and the undertaking just shouldn't happen. Like, I would rather sit behind someone and flash them and be like, get out of the way because I don't want to undertake you, than overtake them from the left, because you can't be doing that. Anyway, I digress. We need to move on because I could go on about driving forever. Being a functional alcoholic. This is something that is totally accepted in the UK. For real though, where in most countries it is acceptable to go and grab a bite after work, have a coffee, in the UK the equivalent of that is to have a beer. Whether it's Friday at 3 p.m, Monday at 5 p.m, any time of day, any day of the week, there will be someone at a pub drinking. And in societal norms in the UK, drinking once or twice a week to the point where you're puking your guts out doesn't actually make you an alcoholic. But what is considered normal in some European countries, like having a glass of wine or a beer with your lunch and dinners every day, that is something that in the UK can be considered as an alcoholic. So if I'm saying I have a beer with my lunches and dinners every day, people here can be like, oh, you clearly have an issue. And I find it kind of funny that you drink so much to get drunk on Fridays or Thursdays or Saturdays, yet if you're having a drink at lunchtime or at dinner time by yourself, then you're an alcoholic. Now, being punctual. I cannot praise Brits enough for giving me this habit, especially as an Italian. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this. I have never ever met a Brit that is not punctual. And if they are going to be late, they will tell you in advance, or they will cancel in advance if they can't make it, which is not something that every country can say. I knew people that would tell me to meet somewhere at a specific time, and then they wouldn't show up for 15 minutes past that time. I'd text them, I'd call them, they'd be like, I'm on my way, sorry, the bus was late. And then after that, half an hour later, still no sign of them. It's like, oh, sorry, got caught up in something. Like, that doesn't happen here that much, or at least not among British people. And a lot of that might be down to the fact that public transport in this country is extremely reliable, it's extremely punctual. You never have issues with buses not showing up, tubes not showing up. At least in London, that's the case. And I talk more about this in my pros and cons of living in London video, which you definitely should watch if you haven't seen it already. But I think that definitely does help towards not being late. Although thankfully, even when I am back in Italy, when I am in other countries, it's something that I still end up keeping up. I don't show up late to places. I don't show up late to meet people because I know how annoying that can get. Okay, now for the next one, hear me out, because it is definitely a stereotype. It's not a negative stereotype, but it's one of those that is 100% true. And now I do it all the time as well. It's talking about the weather a lot. It's super cliche, I know, I'm sorry, but it's just one of those topics that people here use to fill the silence. It's not like people love the weather. It's just something that you can use to talk to someone about if you don't really have anything else to discuss. It's like, you know that person at the party that you're left with because maybe you were like in a group with your friend and then your friend leaves to grab a drink, so you're stuck there with this person that you don't know that well. Automatically, you end up talking about the weather. You'll say something like, oh, I can't believe it's still raining. It's been raining for like 5 days straight. Or it was really hot today, which is so unusual. It's just all these little like weather topics that are relatable without getting too personal into conversation, because we tend to do that in other countries, and in the UK it's not very accepted to go straight into personal stuff. Obviously that varies among people. Like, there are a lot of people that I hear saying, I hate small talk. Never want to hear small talk. And those are the types of people that are just like, screw it, I'm going to talk about personal stuff with the first person I meet. I don't care. But if you're not sure about the situation, if you're not sure about the person, your safest bet is always the weather. Staying on the weather, now this one is more of a health condition than a habit that I kind of picked up living here. Those 25-degree heat waves that everybody laughs about and talks about abroad, saying 25 degrees, big deal. Yeah, they're hot. I used to be the person to laugh at these, but now, like, I can feel it. It's hot. Today I'm sitting in this hoodie. It's 21 degrees outside. It's not hot by any means in any standard of any other country. In the UK though, like, it is hot and sweating, and it's just one of those things that I think when you're living here you get acclimatized to, and anything above 21, 22 degrees, the sun's out, you're like, okay, I can whip the shorts out. I think it's just because you kind of get used to the cooler weather and everything that's now cooler feels warmer. Italy, I'm looking at you. That 25-degree springtime weather is proper summer in the UK. And you're gonna look at me like I'm crazy coming back to Italy, throwing on shorts and a t-shirt in mid-April while everyone's wearing their light jacket. But like, I feel it. Like, I feel hot. I think I've definitely lived here a bit too long, but 25 degrees is hot now. And again, staying on the topic of weather, because I mean, these are British habits we're talking about, dressing more lightly in cold weather is another habit that I seem to have picked up. Scarves aren't as common, gloves aren't as common, nowhere near as much as they are in Mediterranean countries, where even on a much warmer day, you'll be wearing a scarf, you'll be wearing a beanie and gloves because you feel cold. I was never really a fan of wearing all these layers and scarves and gloves, so I can't really say this is a habit that I picked up here, but I feel a lot more accepted and in my element here because I don't feel the pressure of, you know, dress up in 12 layers because it's 12 degrees outside. Like, it's 12 degrees. I'll get over it. One thing I can't get behind though is throwing shorts on when the sun's out, because a lot of the times here it seems like as soon as the sun's out, everybody assumes it's hot, when in my mind that's kind of the opposite. Like, the lack of clouds is, there's this thing called a greenhouse effect. Clouds tend to keep the heat in, so when the clouds are gone, my head is straight away is like, it's sunny and it's crisp, it's cold outside. So my immediate reaction is, if I see the sun in wintertime, you do wear the scarf on that day because it will be colder. So this is where I kind of deviate from that. It's a bit weird. And I'm telling you, it's not uncommon to see British men in cargo shorts in November because the sun is out and it's like -2 degrees outside. So I don't really go along with this trend, but whatever floats your boat, my friend, you go for it. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how many of these were related to the weather when I was writing these down. But when talking about it in the UK, you can't overlook the rain. And this next habit that I picked up, I guess, is something that you can't really live here and not pick up. It's kind of a necessity. You need to be able to have to pick up this habit because otherwise you can't live here. So British people, I am not joking when I tell you that in a lot of other countries, if it's raining outside, your day stops. Like, you avoid going out, you avoid the plans that you made, and you postpone them to another day. You literally take a rain check. In the UK, if you had plans to meet with someone or do something and it starts raining, you can't wait for the day it doesn't rain, because sometimes that day may not come for weeks and you'll just be stuck indoors the whole time. I mean, the rain in the UK is actually not so bad. It's more annoying than anything because realistically, we don't get a lot of heavy rain here. It's not like tropical style rain. The issue with the rain is that it lasts ages, and it's just that light, drizzly, annoying rain that lasts days and days and days and days, and it just doesn't go away. Obviously, there is the odd thunderstorm, the odd rainstorm that's quite heavy, but most of the time, if it's raining in the UK, it is that constant drizzle that just won't go away. So you just have to live with it. You just go on with your day and, I don't know, grab an umbrella. If you made it to this point in the video, please comment I'm an OG, because you are an OG. I can't believe you've been watching this for this long. But you've come to the juiciest of all British habits that I have picked up. And I was very skeptical to include this because I was kind of uncomfortable with this for the longest time. And I still don't really know how to feel about it, to be honest. Talking openly about politics and money. My God, there is no taboo about this here whatsoever. Openly telling people about your salary, talking to people about who you voted for is just completely commonplace and general pub chat. It's so common, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how openly people were actually discussing these things, but now, to an extent, I do it as well. Of course, there still are people that are quite reserved in this sense. Overall, it seems to be a much less taboo conversation. Politics and money, these two seem to be a lot more relaxed, a lot more open. I think this is both a negative and a positive, because obviously, like, you're more aware of what's going on, you're more aware of what people think, you don't feel like you're in your own little bubble, basically. But it also has its negative impacts because it does cause discussions and arguments and stuff like that, as these topics normally would. We just kind of have to watch out. I mean, expect it if you come here, for sure, but also just kind of watch out to not get used to it too much and then go somewhere else where it's not that commonplace, and be that guy that asks the question and then people are like, that's none of your business, really, because that's what it's like in most other places that I've been to and know of. I think that's it, guys. That's pretty much all the points that I wanted to include in this video. There's a lot more things that I do that I picked up specifically here in the UK, and I'm sure there will be a lot more to come because I'm going to be here for a while, I think, for as long as I can stay here under a European passport at least. Definitely follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. I've got both of those, and you can catch me on those when I'm not posting on YouTube, which is every Sunday, but do also subscribe to me on YouTube and hit the notification bell button to be notified every single time that I post a new video. I have merch, and this is so exciting. I talked about it at the beginning of the video, so definitely check this stuff out. We've got a little luxury Italian car here, but I've got other designs which I'll also put up on the screen now, and more to come for sure. All originally designed by yours truly. My name is filcofilms. Thank you so much again for watching this video. Leave a comment if you're triggered, if you have anything to add. We can start a conversation down below. I'm happy to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Ciao.